got what is going to be another 15-minute race ahead of us for round 13 of the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship, sponsored by K-Tec, the Dorset business. And with the green flags having waved at the back, we should any moment now get the red lights on. They go on, they go out, and away we go. And a pretty good start by Jack Kingsbury from pole position. The sometime Porsche racer Jason Pelosi trying to cling on to second place, but it wasn't the most convincing of starts from him. And up the inside has gone the car of 86, Ollie Wayne, but he couldn't quite make that work. Wide at the exit of the first corner he goes. Off the road goes the number 31 car of Chris Page as well, the driver from Burnham Crouch. He's back onto the track now, but it is Wayne that has now got ahead of Pelosi at Hollywood. He's through into second place. Pelosi is third, Jack Dwayne is fourth, and then Chris Lawrence is fifth. So our two championship protagonists together.
That's right, the slightly lighter 182s potentially quicker off the line there. Particularly good start from Ollie Wayne, from fifth on the grid up to second. Won a few seasons ago at Cadwell Park, but hasn't done since then. That he leads his individual class, but it's Jack Kingsbury who leads overall, and he's using this battle for second to get away early on. So he's got a gap over Wayne in second. Third is Pelosi. Fourth is Dwayne, ahead of Lawrence. And now Pelosi's challenging. He wants to get past Ollie Wayne because he can see that Jack Kingsbury is pulling a long way off in front here, and a big gap for only 2/3 of the way through the first lap.
Yeah, it certainly is, but he did have that margin of nearly a second in qualifying. These two battling with each other will have slowed themselves up. Pelosi has got through ahead of Wayne. Now Wayne continues to lead the class. There's Paul Clark in the bright green car. Little Clarkey, who we also see out racing in the low-cost championship as well, although they're not here this weekend. Sometimes he's on double duty on the same weekend. So down to the Melbourne hairpin come the field, which is numerically dominated by the 182s from Class A this weekend, if not at the very sharp end of the order, with the top two positions being held by 197. Jack Kingsbury, the leader, who had a good fight for the championship a few years ago with Patrick Fletcher, and the good battle going on here. That's Darren Ransom up the inside of number 13, Mark Aynert. So that's about halfway down the field, but at the end of lap one, a very decent lead for Jack Kingsbury, number 3.
Absolutely right. With Pelosi second, third Wayne, but under pressure from Jack Dwayne, who drives up the inside because he really needs to make progress there from third spot within the class. There's Darren Ransom, another of those 197s that Ian mentioned a moment ago. Darren Ransom from East Sussex, who's only in his third season.
Side by side here, and that's Jack Dwayne and Ollie Wayne, and Dwayne has got through there ahead of Wayne through the Craner curves. So he's gone through to P3 on the road, and he'll be chasing after now the two 197s ahead of him, and they're quite a long way ahead of him, of Jack Kingsbury and Jason Pelosi. You can see the size of the gap from second to third, and then it's Ollie Wayne leading Class A, and Chris Lawrence second within Class A. So Dwayne is third in his class. Lawrence is second in his class as things stand.
Yeah, I think if Lawrence outscores Dwayne in this race, he might be able to win the championship in this one, as obviously he's second in class compared to third in class for Dwayne. It could be the championship one in this particular race. And for Chris Lawrence, he's right now with Ollie Wayne, the class leader, who is ahead of him. Wayne, who's an RAF engineer, sometimes racing in the Armed Forces Racing Challenge, which we saw earlier. Gap for the lead's coming down. It was 1.2 seconds, but Jason Pelosi is catching Jack Kingsbury for the overall lead. A big late moment on the brakes there from number 13, which is Mark Aynert, who's much further up the order than I seem to remember in the past. A good on Mark there, well up the order in P7 now. He's got ahead of Darren Ransom. And he's right now with the front drivers within the class. So Wayne, Lawrence, O'Connor and Aynert as well involved in that battle for Class A honours.
Yeah, he's there, 7th overall, 26-year-old from Cheltenham, first season of car racing, did 12 years in karts.
Pelosi's over a second quicker than anybody went in qualifying, so I think those qualifying times were a little bit troublesome. Obviously, perhaps the track wasn't in ideal conditions. They were out first thing this morning, weren't they?
And it's the lap record as well. Obviously, it's a lap record for that class, but it's an overall lap record for the championship as well, going faster than Patrick Fletcher's mark in 2015. 8 years ago was the last time the Clio 182s, as it was, then raced on this circuit. And there goes the number 7 car, which is Lewis Richardson now, up ahead of Paul Clark. That is for 9th position. Lewis, who is the 19-year-old motorsport technician from Milton Keynes. and he's previously maintained his dad's car for 3 seasons, and racing the SR Motorsport car, the car that he built himself, apart from the roll cage and the engine.
Paul Clark was trying to challenge back, but I don't think made a move. So this is lap 3. The lead gap came down to 8 tenths of a second with that fastest lap for Jason Pelosi. And there is Dwayne not really getting away from those behind. So the championship does feel like it's just going away from Jack Dwayne at this stage of the weekend. There's that battle we were watching between Lewis Richardson and Paul Clark, and joining in as well is Alex Kilby, who's the director of Deranged Vehicles, which Jason Pelosi, the CEO of. So Deranged Vehicles, well involved in the Clio Sport Championship. And Alex Kilby, we just saw there, was running in, I think, 11th position overall. And he's now got himself between Paul Clark and Lewis Richardson, I think. That was a big battle heading up towards the hairpin. Ahead of them is this battle for Class A honours. Ollie Wayne is still ahead of Chris Lawrence. I guess Chris Lawrence is quite happy to sit here, Ian, because he knows Jack Dwayne only 3rd in his class. Lawrence is currently 2nd. And particularly if those battle behind, that'll help him out even more.
Yeah, no need to take any big risks, as that's Mark Enoch challenging Pete O'Connor in the number 72 car. Pete, another newcomer to the championship for this season, 40-year-old Chief Operating Officer from Bristol. In this 2005 Clio, did had a few podiums in production BMW, having started racing 6 seasons ago. Pete O'Connor. He's had a pretty good season so far, but under a bit of pressure here from Marquis, not the 2 drivers from, I guess, towards the West Country, west of England, Cheltenham and Bristol. There were the 2 leaders going through shot. Kingsbury and Pelosi separated by 3/4 of a second at the start of this lap, and it was more than 3 seconds further back that you found Jack Dwayne in 3rd place. So it just seems like he's not quite got the pace that he needs this weekend to get the wins that he could ideally have done with.
No, it's about a second slower than Pelosi, at least, ahead of him at this stage, and he's not getting away from Ollie Wayne, the Class A leader, the 182 leader. And yeah, that battle between O'Connor and Enoch has allowed Chris Lawrence just to pull clear. So Chris Lawrence, a 33-year-old from Lincolnshire, is looking like he could become the champion with a round to go. He's not been off the podium all season within that category. And now Ollie Wayne trying to challenge Jack Dwayne for what his 3rd position could allow Chris Lawrence to get involved. He's now right on terms with Wayne as they come off the hairpin. Meanwhile, the top 2 overall are together as well. So these battles starting to come alive as we come into the midway part of this race. So Jason Pelosi, the 39-year-old from Essex, the ex-Stock Hatch, Clio and Porsche racer, chasing after Jack Kingsbury, the 28-year-old from Hertford, in his something like his 6th season of racing. Missed out most of last season. Well, he gets a bit of slide coming out of Redgate Corner possibly. So is that going to allow Pelosi to challenge Jason Pelosi, who's just had the 1 win this season, which came at Brands Hatch? He's a local circuit. He's chasing after Kingsbury. Then a long way ahead now of Jack Dwayne. 5 seconds ahead of Dwayne, who's there in 3rd spot. The car's sliding around a lot at this stage of the race. No one setting really personal best lap times. I wonder if the track getting a little bit slippery in, because a lot of cars sliding around as they went down to the old hairpin.
Yeah, not a lot of green on our timing screens, which is what suggests best lap times being set. Here are the 2 leads. They're not a lot to separate them. 4/10 it was at the start of the lap between Jack Kingsbury and Jason Pelosi. We're working lap 5 here with 6.5 minutes left to go in this race. And it's Kingsbury with just a small advantage over Jason Pelosi. Kingsbury, who previously raced in the 182s. Jason Pelosi, also within the 750 Motor Club, has raced in Stock Hatch in the past as well. He's now charging down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Was that a couple of spots of rain even on the camera lens? Maybe that might account for just a very slight deterioration in the conditions. It's a big queue of cars now behind Jack Dwayne, it would seem, isn't it? He's in 3rd, Ollie Wayne 4th, leading his class. And then a change here. It was that Mark Enoch up the inside of Pete O'Connor at the Melbourne hairpin. They got very close. I don't think they touched, though. So Mark Enoch will go through to 3rd place within that class.
A controversial thought might be that Jack Dwayne is trying to back Chris Lawrence into his class rivals to try and get him to lose positions. So I'm not sure if that is the case or if it's just as it has been all day, really. Jack Dwayne hasn't got the pace of Kingsbury and Pelosi ahead of him. Potentially the car not running as it should be. Meanwhile, that battle for third in class are still side by side. This is for sixth overall. Pete O'Connor on the inside line, Mark Enoch on the outside line, having his best race of the season. Can't quite get past Pete O'Connor, who's up now back into third in the class, at least for now.
He is indeed, but that fight raging on. Pete O'Connor got that move done again at Goddard's, really. Takes quite a lot of curb there at the Craners. Down towards the old hairpin they go. They've got Darren Ransom's 197 just behind them as well, and that will be quick at different parts of the circuit. The two leaders are nose to tail through McLean's that time. And again, the gap between them only about 4 or 5 tenths of a second at the beginning of the lap. So Jack Kingsbury being given no respite here by Jason Pelosi. He's not done all of the rounds this season. I think he just did one of the 3 we had at Croft, didn't we? Had to be elsewhere for the second day of that meeting. That's sort of stymied his championship hopes a little bit. Down towards the Fogarty S's they go, and you can see the gradient on the circuit there as they head into the left and right flick, and you can also see the size of the gap back to Jack Dwayne. It was about 6 seconds at the start of the lap. It feels like it's quite a bit bigger than that now as well. As we home in on that battle for third within the class, it is, for the moment, Pete O'Connor prevailing.
And Jason Pelosi is almost alongside, not quite actually, is he? But good close racing there between Jack Kingsbury and Jason Pelosi. Kingsbury now having to defend down towards the Goddard hairpin with 2, maybe 3 laps of the race to go. It's like the previous race. It's going to be very close on time here as they cross the line. With 3 minutes and 40 to go, yeah, possibly the start of the penultimate lap. Meanwhile, in the background, the Class A leaders are absolutely together as well. It's hard to know which of these 2 class-leading battles to look out for. Let's have a look back at the 182s. Well, Ollie Wayne is still ahead of Chris Lawrence, so 86 ahead of 56. And then Pete O'Connor, after making that move on the previous lap, trying to chase those 2 cars back down ahead of him. So both categories, perhaps a bit more spread between Class A and B here at Donington Park, Ian, but both classes have a good battle for the leading position.
They do. Wayne, he's won a couple of races in the past at Cadwell Park, I think it was, a couple of years ago, that he was ahead at the just going into that corner. He's not out of it, made a mistake there, has run wide. This allows Chris Lawrence to go through into the class lead if he can. We'll get a closer view of them as they come up to McLean's, and he's done it, hasn't he? Chris Lawrence has gone through into the lead of the class. He was going to be heading for the championship win even without that, but now he is ahead. That's another effectively 3 points gain, because it's 25 for a win, 22 for second place, and that will just make sure of things, really, if he can hold on to it, and that's not a foregone conclusion.
That's right, because Wayne is fighting back. He'd desperately like to stop this run of victories that Chris Lawrence has had. He's won the last 6 races within the class. That small mistake he made there at the old hairpin could be critical to the result, because that allowed Chris Lawrence to get through and ahead. But Pete O'Connor now joining in with Mark Enoch, and it's 4 now for the lead of the class, with we think it's going to be a lap to go. So Chris Lawrence doesn't want to get shuffled out here, because if he does lose a position, it's possible he may lose more than one with so many cars close together. But Pete O'Connor, his attention to turn to his mirrors again, because Mark Enoch is putting you under all sorts of pressure. Enoch in his first season of racing going really well here in the TMC Race Engineering run car, and the last lap board is being shown, so this time it is going to be an 8-lap race. Jack Kingsbury has suddenly pulled out a second lead over Pelosi, so therefore attention's really being turned to this Class A battle, where Chris Lawrence is under much more pressure than he was a couple of corners ago.
He really is, and the cars in third and fourth not too far behind. So can Chris Lawrence hold on here? If he loses one place, that is not the end of the world as far as the championship is concerned. But he could really do without. Oh, well, that might have helped him, because Wayne got very sideways into the old hairpin. He's not actually lost very much time as a result of that. He's still right with Chris Lawrence. There go the first 2, much more spread out now. Kingsbury and Pelosi. Dwayne is on his own in third now, but it's side by side very nearly through McLean's for the Class A lead, and it's still Chris Lawrence hanging on.
Yeah, Wayne really was able to carry the speed through the corner, despite getting pretty sideways. So this first Class A win of the season for Oliver Wayne isn't out of the question yet. He knows that Chris Lawrence presumably doesn't want to get involved in any issues. So if Wayne chucks up the inside, maybe Chris Lawrence will give him a bit more space than he may have done earlier in the season. So down towards the S as they come, but Lawrence is still ahead, he's still in front, he's still on the way to win the championship, Ian.
He certainly is. So it looks like Chris Lawrence is going to go out. No, we'll not go out because there's still one more race to go, but still the championship with a class win, or is he? Because Wayne trying to go around the outside of him at Melbourne. He runs too wide there. Surely he can't come back from that. No, he's not going to get a cut back there on the exit of the corner. So it's Jack Kingsbury out of the final corner. He takes his third victory of the season in the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship. Jason Pelosi is second. And who's going to win in Class A? Well, there is your answer. I think it is the yellow and blue car of Chris Lawrence that takes the checkered flag to win Class A, and he wraps up the championship as well. He is the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Champion of 2023 provisionally. It was Jack Dwayne third on the road, Chris Lawrence fourth, Ollie Wayne fifth, Pete O'Connor sixth, Mark Enoch seventh, Darren Ransom eighth, and then the battle for ninth is headed home by Lewis Richardson with Alex Kilby rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, so that, particularly in the 182s, was a pretty exciting race, wasn't it? We had some great battles there, and Chris Lawrence coming out on top, which it didn't look like that was going to be a possibility at some points of the season of that race. So that's his 7th win of the season within Class A. So congratulations to Chris Lawrence, the 33-year-old from Lincolnshire. He's been racing cars for 5 seasons. This year he's really come on strong, and he's taken, we think, the championship. But here are the results then. Jack Kingsbury the winner by 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, he was in number 3 from number 77, Jason Pelosi. Jack Dwayne, number 11, was in 3rd position. In 4th place, it was number 56, Chris Lawrence, who won Class A, picking up the points he needed to wrap up the championship. In 5th position, number 86, Ollie Wayne. 6th, number 72, Pete O'Connor. Then 7th was number 13, Mark Enoch. Darren Ransom was 8th and 4th of the Class B cars in number 30. 9th was number 7, Lewis Richardson. And rounding out the top 10 was number 85, Alex Kilby, ahead of Paul Clark, Matthew Orcutt, Chris Page and Josh Southwell. And then further back we had William Brown, Sonny White and Mark Witherington, completing our 17 cars that we had for the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship event. They have their final race of the season tomorrow morning at 11:45. And we've still got 7 more races to come this afternoon here at Donington Park. Coming up next, we're going to have the Tagiwa Road Sports Series 45-minute race with pit stops. Then we've got the first of 2 races this weekend for the Mighty Mini Championship. The 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup comes up after that. Then it's the Armed Forces Race Challenge, the Everything Motorsport Classics.Cats Championship, the High-Tech Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship, and the Tagiwa Type R Trophy to round out a busy first day of racing here at Donington Park. There you can see the car of Mark Witherington, which was the only non-finisher from that K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship race. He will be recovered to the paddock, and hopefully he'll get his car out for racing tomorrow morning. He's got a few hours to try to get whatever the problem is with that car fixed and back out into racing action. We've got the cars heading down pit lane, and very shortly we'll be able to hear from our top 3. Hopefully we'll also hear from our new champion Chris Lawrence as well, who won the 182 class in that race and got enough of a points advantage over Jack Dwayne in that race to seal the overall Clio Championship, provisionally we should say, with a race to spare. So we're going to head down to the pit lane now. Anna McEwen is down there ready to speak to our successful drivers from the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship.
Well, fantastic stuff there. The Class B cars very much dominating at the front of the field, but all attention focused on that Class A battle where we do provisionally have a new champion for 2023. We'll get to that in a moment. Chris Lawrence winning in Class A, but we'll start with our overall and Class B winner, Jack Kingsbury, who's receiving his winner's garland and winner's cap after a very hard-fought race win.
Yeah, no, that was a difficult race. Jason was putting pressure on. I had a lot of bad noise coming from the car. Don't know what's wrong with it. It's vibrating like mad. So I was at any point waiting to pull over, but managed to hold him off, which I'm happy about, and managed to pull a gap towards the end of that, and it was happy days.
Yeah, there did seem to be a point with maybe a lap and a half to go where you suddenly pulled the pin and got away. Did he make a mistake, or did you just start going quicker?
I'm not sure. I didn't see him make a mistake. I think it was more in my mind. I'd just given up worrying about everything, all the noises and that, and was like, oh, whatever, let's go for it. And then it started pulling away, so the pace is there. We're good.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations on the race. I'm just going to squeeze past you if that's all right, and catch up with Jason Pelosi then, who finished in second place. And, well, we've just had Jack's side of the story. He said he was feeling the heat there for most of that race.
Yeah, I think towards the middle of the race, I put some pressure on him. I started to find a bit more pace. One of the Class A cars got past me at the start. I think it was, I don't know, Ollie Wayne. He got past me, so I had a bit of battling to do there to get back past him and then catch up with Jack. And I felt during the GP bit, you know, that bit I was gaining on him a lot, and then I did make a little mistake towards the end, and then my pace just dropped off after that. I knew it was going to be a lot of work to catch him back up, so I just thought, well, see if he makes a mistake. He didn't really make many mistakes, so couldn't get past.
Another race still to come, though. You've got front-running pace. What's it going to take to get onto the top step, do you think?
I think my big thing is to get a good start. I don't seem to be able to get it off the line as well as these other boys, but if I can do that and get ahead at the start, hopefully I'm on the front row again for the next race. I'm not too sure, but it's lap times in this race, so we'll find out in a minute.
Well, best of luck with that. Congrats on the second place, though, to Jason. Now, Jack Dwayne came home in third place, and Jack is giving his car a bit of attention. All good at the end of that one, mate?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it was just me. They lit up off the start, and I got sort of stuck behind one of the 182s. And unfortunately, when you've lost that much ground, because we're doing similar lap times, so I think they're quite a bit quicker than me today. You wait for a mistake, but the problem is they were getting further and further away into the distance. So if they make a mistake, I'm not going to be there anyway. So yeah, I can't really fault my car. It's got to be me today.
I like the honesty. It's refreshing, that. So congratulations on the podium. Now, I do very quickly want to have a chat with our provisional Class A champion, Chris Lawrence, who came home victorious in Class A. Well, we think you've done enough for the title. If you have, that was the perfect way to go about it, but not an easy win, was it?
Nah, I thought Ollie had got me on that one, but I just didn't give up. I wanted to go out with a win, really. I didn't want to sit there behind in second. So, yeah, I think we pressurised him into some mistakes and then just picked the pieces up, really.
Having got the lead, though, defending around here is not easy to do, is it? You defend into one corner, it loses your momentum. You did really well to keep the door closed.
Yeah, I soon regretted it once I was in front, so I had my mirrors full for a lap or two. So, no, it was all right in the end. Just had to keep my head on, really, and just keep cool.
Been such a strong season for you, though. You must be so happy now to more or less have got this wrapped up.
13 races, 13 podiums, so I can't complain at all.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations then to Chris Lawrence. So that is our first Clio action of the weekend done. The Takiwa Road Sports Series drivers, though, are already starting to make their way out onto the circuit for their 45-minute pit stop race. Let's head back up to the box with Ian and Josh.